Jungkook let out a gentle sign and put his forefinger on his temple, gently massaged his head. Was staring to edge from all the work. He glanced at the clock hanging on the wall. It was already 10 in the evening. Jungkook time fell so fast. He looked back at the blueprint on his table and the set of documents beside it. He had been working non-stop since he arrived home at 4 in the afternoon. After going to the university from some requirement, he totally forgot to have dinner until his stomach grew loudly. Jungkook hardly need to stop skipping meals. Standing up, he walked to the refrigerator hoping to find something to eat. But as soon as he opened it, it frowned. Jungkook expected only water. He sighed, realized he forgot to stock up again. Most of Jungkook, should I just order something or maybe eat the cup of noodles? Just as he was about to make a decision, Jungkook eyebrow frowned. He was not expecting anyone. Who could it be at this hour? He hesitated for a moment but then walked towards the door. Jungkook, all right, I'm coming. He reached from the door and slowly opened the door. Curiosity and cotton mixed in his eyes. Jungkook slowly the door, his eyes widened and saw Jungkook flicks. His eyes instantly took in flicks and disbelief hair, the swollen corner of his lips, and the trace of near his feet was an untidy baggage. If he things inside had been thrown in hardly, but that truly made Jungkook heart clench was that teenage boy beside Flix. Taehyung's condition was never worse. His face was burnished, his lower lip slightly busted, and scratch lined his neck. His shoulders were handed, his arms were put around himself as if trying to disappear. Flexi looked at Jungkook apologetically. Flix and Jungkook eyes didn't leave Taehyung as Flix continued. Flix, sorry to disturb you this late, but before he could finish, Jungkook slightly stepped aside, opening the door wide without another word. He gently pulled them inside. Jungkook, get in, I'll get in, and medicine kit. He was already heading towards the bathroom when Flix spoke again, making him pause. Flix, Jungkook, can I leave Taehyung here for a while? Jungkook turned back to look at him. Concern evidenced in his eyes. Flix's hand glancing at Taehyung before continuing. Flix, I need to go back to work. I'll explain tomorrow. I don't want him to stay with me in the bar. Jungkook clenched his jaw. He wanted to argue that Flixie wants needed to be treated first, but knowing his friend, Flixie would just ignore it with Jungkook, don't worry, I'll look after him. Flix gave him a grateful look, saying nothing more as he returned towards the door. Jungkook, Flix. Flix stopped and glanced back. Jungkook, don't go to the morning delivery. Flix flushed slightly, questioning him. Jungkook, I can't take a leave tomorrow and I am flying to Tokyo in the evening. Flix nodded in understanding. Jungkook clearly wanted to talk before he left. A small, thankful smile appeared on Flix's lips before he turned and walked out of the door. Jungkook sat on a hand throughout his hair before heading to the bathroom. He grabbed the medicine kit and walked back to living room. His eyes immediately found Taehyung. The teenager sat at the end of the sofa, his head hanging low as he stared at the floor. His hands were clenched into fist on his lap. Jungkook quietly sat beside him, carefully reached from his hand and arms to check for injury. Taehyung flinched slightly but didn't resist. Jungkook then gently lifted Taehyung's chin. His heart skipped at the swollen right cheeks and the scratch on his neck. Jungkook, look at you. Since when did you learn to fight others? His voice was scolding, but there was no real anger, only worry. Taehyung remained silent, his finger tightened on the fabric of his pants. He threw Jungkook a quick glance before lowering his gaze again. Jungkook, are not you going to speak? Why did you shouldn't become mute? We haven't seen Jungkook let out a quiet sigh, softening his tone. Jungkook, I was really busy last month, so I couldn't drop by. It was not an excuse, just the truth. He usually visited the two brothers regularly. Flexi had been his friend since junior high, and they had stayed close despite their different paths. Taehyung finally spoke, his voice small. Taehyung, and they kept on coming since last week, and but before he could finish his smirk let out a loud groan. Jungkook blinked before chuckling. The tension in the room easing slightly. Jungkook, guess I am not only one who escaped dinner. He grabbed his phone and quickly dialed a food delivery order. Then he looked at Taehyung. Jungkook, that I'll make. Why? Do you want some cup noodle first? I haven't eaten either. Taehyung hesitated before nodding. Jungkook got up to prepare the noodles, making sure to keep the conversation light. He asked about Taehyung's school, his studies, and his day over the past month. It was their usual topic whenever Jungkook visited something familiar and comforting. He purposely avoided asking about what had happening tonight. There would be time for that later. As they talked, Jungkook noticed the exhausting on Taehyung's face. His body was tense, his eyes slightly dropping despite his effort to stay awake. Jungkook reached out, ruffling Taehyung's hair lightly. Jungkook, what's up and get some sleep. Use the room you always use. Taehyung hesitated as if wanting to say something, but Jungkook gave him a resuming smile. Jungkook, go on, we can talk more in the day. I'll be out tomorrow, so just rest. Taehyung nodded slowly, standing up and making his way to the guest room. Once he was done, Jungkook leaned back on the couch, rubbing his temple. He didn't need to ask what had happened. He had a general idea. Most likely they had been thrown out of their apartment again. This was not the first time, but this was the first time they had come to him in such a bad state. Letting out a deep breath, Jungkook turned back to his work. There was nothing he could do tonight, but tomorrow he would figure something out. Here, your At 1 in morning, Jungkook finally managed to finish all the regards that needed to do. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. Jungkook murmured to himself, I don't usually stay up this late, but the project had been taken on had a tight schedule, and since he joined the team in the middle of the construction, there was no room for delay. On top of that, he had to accompany his father to Japan of navigations. Letting out a sign, he stood up and straight before heading to bed. He decided to check on Taehyung, closing the door open quietly. He stepped inside. Taehyung was already soundly asleep, his small frame curled up under the blanket. His forehead was slightly crossed. If he was having a bad dream, Jungkook walked over, gently smoothed his from away. Jungkook softly felt it. He adjusted the blanket, making sure Taehyung was warm. The dim light the side lamp before quietly leaving the room. As he walked back to his room, memories of when he first met Taehyung flooded his mind. It has been 6 or 7 years ago. He had gone to see Flexi after his friend sudden stopping going to school for a week. Despite being close friend, Flexi had never invited him over, always making excuses. Jungkook had scented that Flexi felt uneasy about the difference in their life situation, especially after seeing Jungkook home and family. When he arrived at the Flexi address, he saw a thin boy around 10-year-old outside petted a stray cat. The boy had looked up at him curiously, his eyes before giving him a simple nod. Later, Jungkook learned that the boy was Taehyung, Flexi's younger brother. Thought Flexi had mentioned having a sibling. It was the first time Jungkook had actually seen him. There was something about Taehyung that immediately drew Jungkook in, the way his innocent smile lit up his face, the way he lingered nearby quietly. That day, Jungkook also learned that their mother was sick and then that Flix had been staying home to take care of her and Taehyung. From then on, Jungkook started visiting them regularly since he only had an older sister. He found himself growing fond of Taehyung, treating him like a younger brother, but unlike Flixie, who was naturally sociable, Taehyung was shy and quiet, and it took time before he warmed up to Jungkook. The next morning, at the 6 in the morning, Jungkook woke up to the sound of movement in the kitchen. Rubbing his eyes, he got out of the bed and walked toward the source of the noise. There, he found out Flixie sitting at the table, his hand busy placing dishes. Jungkook asked, "Bro, what are you doing so early? Have you been slept?" Flix glanced at him and smiled slightly. Flexi, I couldn't sleep. My body used to being awake at this time. I should be returned from the morning delivery now. Remember, Jungkook sign. Jungkook, you shouldn't be rested, especially after last night. Flexi didn't respond. Instead, pulling out a chair for Jungkook. Flexi, anyway, I was waiting for you. You said you wanted to talk last night. Jungkook let out a deep breath. He had only said that to make Flix stay and rest, but now that they were here, it seems like Flixie also wanted to talk. He sat down at the table and Flixie immediately pushed some dishes towards him. Taehyung glanced at the food. It seemed Flixie had gone to the market before coming back. As he started eating, he got straight to the point. Jungkook, what happened? Flixie sighed, his smile fading. Flixie, aside from getting kicked out of our place from being behind on a rent, the loan circuit come last night. Jungkook grabbed on his spoon, tightened. Flixie, Taehyung was alone when they arrived. He got into an argument with them, and before I got there, they were already beating him up. Jungkook's jaw clenched, his eyes darkening with anger. Flixie hesitating. Jungkook. Before Flexi could say anything else, Jungkook cut him off. Jungkook, just stay here. How many times have I told you already? Flexi let out a smile, almost embarrassing laugh. Flexi, this time I'll be a little shameless and accept your offer. Jungkook looked at him surprised. Flixi, if it were just me, I wouldn't mind stay anywhere, but I have Taehyung to think about. I don't want him spending more time on a street or following me to work, but just for a wait while I'll find a place soon. Jungkook started shaking his head. Jungkook, take your time, please. There is no rush. Then his tone turned serious. Jungkook, about the loan circus. Flixie immediately interpreted it. Flixie, I'll handle that. Please let me deal with it myself. I promise they won't come near your place. Letting us stay here is already a huge help. Jungkook studying his friend's face before finally nodding. Jungkook, alright, but if things got worse, you tell me. I mean it, Flix. Flix gave him a small, grateful smile. Flix, Taehyung and I can share a room. I am barely home anyway. Jungkook wanted to argue, but he knew Flixie well enough. His friend was too prideful to accept more help than necessary. So instead of pushing, Jungkook simply nodded. And so for that next few months, the two brothers living with Jungkook. Surprisingly, Jungkook liked having them around, having grown up with only one sibling and with His father always acknowledged independence. His home had always felt empathy. His sister has been sent to study abroad when he was in high school, and he had gotten used to live alone. But with Felix and Taehyung there, things changed. Suddenly, his meal were prepared for him. His home, which one left too big, was now filled with life. Felix and Taehyung took care of the place so well that Jungkook even cancelled his cleaning service. Taehyung, despite being a late riser, took charge of everything in the house except for breakfast, which Flixie handled since he was always up early. Flixie and Taehyung were an affectionate pair of brothers, and living with them felt like living with his own siblings. Not that he saw them as anything less, and just like that, their completed, comfortable life together became ordinary until the following years when everything started to change. Taehyung pouting Flixie, it's not like I forced Jungkook to bring me along. He was the one who decided on it. Flixie let out a deep sigh, shaking his head as he watched Jungkook reach over to wipe the crumbs off Taehyung's mouth. His best friend had been babying his younger brother ever since the move, and it seems to be getting worse. Flixie crossed his arms. Jungkook, you really don't have to do this. I'll be fine here. You all be busy with work, and he might just before he could finish. Jungkook begged his and dismissed Jungkook. Flixie, when will you stop nagging him? Everything is said already. He is not a disturbance. Jungkook glanced at Taehyung, who was becoming with excitement. Jungkook calmly, I only have 2 meetings for this trip, and besides, this is a promise between us. Felix signed again, but didn't argue further. He knew there was no point when Jungkook had already made up his mind. For past years, Jungkook had been traveling back and forth to Japan for a major partnership in the construction and transport business, which had been fully handed over to him by his father. Taehyung had always so interest whenever Jungkook talked about his short time during these trips. A few months ago, Jungkook had promised to bring him along on one condition: if the scorer team won their match, he would get a tag along. And since they did win, Jungkook was keeping his promise. Taehyung's eyes sparkled with happiness as he thought about it. Taehyung grinned, I still can't believe I'm going to Japan with you. It was his first flight, his first trip outside the country. He glanced at Flixie, who sat across from him at the dinner table. Arm still crossed. Flixie was eyeing him carefully as if trying to find a reason to stop him. Jungkook rubbed Taehyung's hair with a smile. Jungkook, just don't play too much tonight, okay? Taehyung laughed. I'll play for a little while, but I am not inviting you to play with me. You always lose. Jungkook rolled his eyes. Jungkook teasing, hey, don't lose that badly. Taehyung, yes, you do. Flixie was then shaking his head as Taehyung left the table and headed towards his room to finish packing. Once Taehyung was out of the earshot, Flixie turned to Jungkook, his expression half assumed, half annoyed. Flixie, you are even playing online game with him now, and what was it last time? A new game console. You also took him out 2 weeks ago. Jungkook, you are spoiling him too much. Jungkook chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Jungkook, he deserves all the spoil. He's been a great help around the house, and he is doing well in school. Why shouldn't I reward him? Flixie sighed but smiled slightly, knowing he couldn't argue with that. Taehyung was only 3 years old when his father, suffering a stroke that followed was a senior of health complications, leaving the family in debate since then. Taehyung had grew up following his mother around, watching as he struggled to hold things together. Flexi, being the elder son, had to step up early. Even when he was in school, he was already juggling part-time jobs. Their financial struggle worsened, and when their mother fell ill, required expensive treatment and specialist care. Jungkook had always wanted to help more, but Flexi only accepted as little as possible. It was Flexi's pride. He never wanted to feel like a burden, but when it came to Taehyung, Jungkook found a way around it. Flexi couldn't do anything about it. Jungkook and Flexi sat on the sofa, their conversation turning serious. Jungkook leaning lower. Are you still thinking about it? Flexi know what he was talking about. Jungkook had been trying to convince him to apply for a position in his company. Flexi let out a small sign and avoid his gaze. Flexi, I already told you, Jungkook. Jungkook cutting him. Don't look at me like that. I am telling you to apply. I'm not going to interfere with the hire process, so you don't have to feel pressured. Flexi stayed quiet, his expression unbearable. Jungkook offered another options. If you are not comfortable with it, how about the hotel? My sister is helping out in our family hotel and restaurant business. Maybe you feel better working there. Flexing looking at Jungkook, his eyes a mix of embarrassment, thankfulness, pity, and frustration. He had already paid off half of his family debate, something he could only do because he barely had any living expenses now. Jungkook covered everything in the house from grocery to bills, and even thought Flexi was exhausted from working non-stop from morning till night. His pride wouldn't let him accept more help. They had tried moving out of Jungkook's house a couple of times, but Jungkook always was a way to stop them. This house is too big from me alone, Jungkook always said, and honestly, Flexi knew they live with Jungkook had given him a lot of comfort. He had noticed how much happier Taehyung had become. He now spent more time with friends instead of seeking out to look for work. Flexi gave Jungkook a faint smile, avoiding a real answer. Flexi, I'll think about it. Jungkook signed, but didn't pause further. Jungkook softly, Flexi, I would really be happy if you could go back to school. I know we always wanted to have a more stable job. Would give you enough time. Flexi stayed silent, staring at his hands. The sound of soft footsteps made them turn their head. Taehyung walked out of his room and plopped down beside Jungkook on the sofa, handing him something. Taehyung cheerfully, Flexi, I made some side dishes. I already went grocery shopping early, and we are fully stocked up. I also cleaned the house, so you don't have to do it. I clean again when we are back, just when you have time. Flexi frowned, his eyes narrowing slightly. Flexi, I haven't give you any money. How did you buy groceries? He already knew the answer, but still he couldn't help but ask. It was embarrassing not being able to contribute. Taehyung grinned and pointed at Jungkook. Taehyung, Jungkook, of course. Flexi let out a deep sigh, rubbing his temple. Jungkook scolding, Felix scolding, why are you getting so full of yourself? Are not you embarrassed spending other people's money? Taehyung blinked instantly, then turned his head. Taehyung, what are you talking about? How is Jungkook consider other people? It's always been like this. Flexi opening his mouth to argue, but seeing Jungkook assume a smile, he gave up. Jungkook chuckled and rubbed Taehyung's hair again. Jungkook, see, he get it. Flexi crossing his arm just a year and you are already acting bold. Taehyung pouted but didn't back down. He was not lying, but Flexi still looked embarrassed. Flexi grumbling, Jungkook, this is your fault. Look at the result of all yours spoiling. Jungkook smiled warmly. He always enjoying listening to these bicker in a livingly way. He decided to join in the fun. Jungkook teasingly, right, our baby is correct. Why are you feeling distant, Flexi? He winked at Taehyung, making the younger one grin. Jungkook playfully continued, the eldest brother will take care of earning money. The youngest shouldn't just play and Taehyung laughing and finishing his sentence, and Flexi should just nag. Both Jungkook and Taehyung burst into laughter. Much of Flexi and now Flexi shook his head. Flexi mumbling, unbelievable, I don't know who was between. Jungkook inspections it. You have quite the taste. I like it. Taehyung brightened up. Taehyung, right. When I saw it, I thought you be probably like it since we are going to the beach. You all need it. Flexi Raj and April Flexi. He has a lot of though some are even limited editions. Taehyung wanted to protest. The sunglasses was not cheap. He had spent his pizza money from a quiz contest and his saving from his allowed to buy them. He had planned to save that money for a special occasion like birthdays for Jungkook or Flexi, but when he saw the sunglasses he immediately thought of Jungkook and brought them without hesitation. Now hearing Flexi don't play it, he parted and stayed quiet. Jungkook noticed his silence and gently pulled Taehyung closer with an arms around his shoulders. Jungkook softly, alright, stop arguing you two. This is definitely my style and it will be my favorite. Thank you, Taehyung. Taehyung's face brightened up again. He nodded happily.